Hello, and welcome to Mindset Shifts and the What Ifs. I am your host, executive coach, Lauren Lefkowitz, and I'm glad to be here with you again. We missed each other last week. Your girl just needed a week off, and so I took it. I took a week vacation from LinkedIn. I took a week's vacation from most of my responsibilities. And just took some me time to, wave hands vaguely, to deal with some stuff. But I am back and I'm glad to be here tonight and really excited for whatever our topic is. Funny story about like when I was in all the things trying to, take breaks and stuff. I was feeding my dog a couple of days ago. And I had her bowl on the counter and I was putting her food in, and she gets a very special diet of dry dog food and green beans and a little bit of CBD oil. So it's a whole concoction, and didn't realize that the bowl was on the edge of the counter. So just as I finished preparing it, it fell off the counter and flipped upside down. And I looked down at the floor and I looked at my dog. And I just put the remaining half of the food that was in the bowl right down on the floor in the middle of the big mess. And my dog cleaned it up for me, which is just like, that's kind of a delight. I have a dog to clean stuff up for me, her own stuff. So just a note, you can be like a little bit more low key with getting everything in order and getting everything perfect, because sometimes there's just a dog to come and eat the food that's on the floor. Anyway, if you are with me tonight, if you're joining the chat, come say hi in the comments. And I am live on Restream, which gets me through to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And I'm also live on Instagram, but on Instagram, you won't be able to see me spin the wheel. So I will tell you what the topic is when it comes up, but let's see what our topic for tonight will be. All right, here we go. Ooh, yes. Getting ready to executive job search. I love that. I never get not excited about any of the topics because, I built the wheel. So I love this topic because when we think about going into a job search, we put together a resume, we put together a cover letter, a basic cover letter that we can adjust. We start making lists of companies. We start searching on LinkedIn. We start searching on Indeed and trying to get through all the spam, and ZipRecruiter and trying to get through all the spam. And we ask our friends if they've used Recruiter. Like, we do all the right things, especially when we're high achievers. We do all the right things for job search, except we don't figure out what we want first. And that is a challenge that I see in so many of my clients, that they come to me, they changed jobs, and so they thought it would be better, right? And they changed jobs sometimes because they wanted to, sometimes because they had to from a layoff or really toxic work environment. They come to me, and what they realize is like, they're not happier, right? They may have a nicer boss, and like, that's great. Or they may have like a more interesting function, and that's great. But because we have a tendency to jump into the doing, it means that we're not stopping at the being. And I've talked about being and doing before. I talk about it all the time when I coach. But when we talk about the doing, you're doing all of the right things in your job search. I'm pretty sure of it, right? If you're a high achiever, if you've got good grammar skills, or you've hired a resume writer, or you've read a book, or you've taken good resume advice, if you have a solid resume and like pretty good research skills, you're job searching correctly. But are you searching for the correct job is the question. And so something that my clients come to me for is, before they search, they've hit this point in their career. They've hit this like block in their career where they think it's fine, right? oh, well, I've been in marketing or tech or HR or programming or project management for X years, 10, 20, 30 years. I really can't do anything else because it will require me to start over, which is not true. That's a falsity that we make up for ourselves. Is falsity a word? Anyway, that's something we make up for ourselves. And so a lot of people come to me and they're like, I just started job searching and everything felt like the same as what I already have. And I don't really like what I already have anymore. And they come into all of these buts, but I'm making money, but I have the title, but I'm managing the number of people I want to manage, but I don't want to leave the industry, but I hate it. Like, I don't love it anymore. I loved it for X number of years and I don't love it anymore. And I don't know what to do with that. And we get this feeling of defeat when we're doing this search before the search, because our brains go first to what we don't want. So we think about, well, if I go to another job, I don't want to work weekends, or I don't want to have to check my phone at night, or I don't want a boss who's like this, or I don't want to be in an industry like this, or I don't want to be in product, I want to be in service, or vice versa. And so our brain is naturally wired to think of the negative first. It's a protection measure to think of what we want to escape from. And when we start job searching, we dive right into the search to look at what is the opposite of the things we have that we don't want anymore. And that is not necessarily going to help you in your search. It's going to help you find a job, for sure. Absolutely. But what I have seen is that people who get 10 plus years into their careers and don't love what they're doing anymore, and I experienced this myself. I was in HR for 20 years. I loved it for 15 years. And then I fell out of love with it. And I couldn't imagine what else I could do. And look at me now. But the thing that we do is we find the job we're familiar with. And our brains are not wired to say, like, hey, go take this risk. Hey, you're a generalist over here. What if you specialized in this thing? Or you're a specialist and you want to be a generalist. What if you applied for generalist jobs? Or you are a good project manager. Where else could you manage projects? What other industry? What other size company? Do you want to work for a startup? Do you want to work for an established company? We don't ask ourselves those questions because we are working on escaping what isn't working for us and finding something that's not too uncomfortable. That's not so uncomfortable. That's not going to be so different that we're both out of our comfort zone in being new and out of our comfort zone in changing the job itself. So the search before the search is the more important search because you have to figure out who you want to be when you grow up. Yes, it's super important to decide what you don't want anymore. Absolutely so important to decide what you don't want anymore. That is a great launch point. And most of my clients, when they come to me, I have a questionnaire that my clients fill out. And a lot of those questions get answered with, I don't know what I do want, but I know what I don't want. And that is super healthy. That's a really good way to start clearing the cobwebs that build in our heads about what we don't want and to get rid of that sort of draw to only escaping what we want. But that's only step one. Step two is, well, what do you want? And that's not always as easy. And I have had clients go from account management to project management. I've had clients go from sales to marketing. I have had clients go from one side of HR to the other side of HR. I have had clients go from program management to project management. I might have said that one already, but there are a lot of different things you can do. There are a lot of different ways to do it. And it's not just, okay, well, I am the VP of events over here, so I have to go find another job as the VP of events. Well, how come you're not applying for president jobs? How come you're not applying for EVP jobs? How come you're not looking at what else can you do if you're burnt out on events? Sometimes events can be a burnout job where you just run out of the energy to be traveling to different events. Maybe you want to work for a more local company. So the exploration of what you want to do for work when you grow up. And you can grow up at any age, or you can decide to never grow up, but you may grow up a little bit more in your career. But that exploration of what you want to do when you grow up is so important before you start the job search, because otherwise you're just sort of flailing and looking for things that feel familiar, looking for jobs where you can do most of the job without really exploring what you want. So what do you value? What value do you bring? What are your skill sets? What are your abilities? What are you so talented at that nobody else can do and can handle? And what does that all add up to? And then you start searching some of the keywords of the things you like to do and see what kinds of jobs come up. And then you can start building a list. And if you work with a coach like me, that might be something that I know that I can help you discover what kinds of jobs, what kinds of industries might you be able to move into. I have not had a client yet take a pay cut because they switched jobs or industries or entire careers. Certainly, I've had clients who have gone out on their own, and there's a startup pattern with that where you're not making a ton of money right away. But I help those folks figure out how to get contracting work while they're building up. So what you don't want to do is just start willy-nilly applying for jobs that look familiar, because, I've said this before, wherever you go, there you are, right? You bring you with you to every job, every place. And if you haven't solved the issue of, I don't want to do this, I don't like this career, I don't like this type of workplace, and I am looking for this type of workplace, I am looking for this kind of manager, I am looking for this kind of work, I only like 25% of my job, where is that a whole job? If you don't do that work first, then you're going to go with yourself, with your habits, with your dislikes to like a similar job, and you're going to be dissatisfied, and you're going to wonder why. And then you're going to wonder, is there something wrong with me, or do I just keep choosing bad companies? And the answer is maybe neither, maybe both. There's nothing wrong with you. I don't think there's anything wrong with you, whoever you are. But there's this opportunity to figure out what you actually do want so that you can start building for yourself. How's that going to help you change your behaviors? How is that going to, clients who come to me with no boundaries, no system in place for boundaries. And that's former me for sure. But I have clients who will come to me with no understanding of what their challenges are, right? Which is another piece of getting to know you before you go and find a job. So I know for me, I was totally boundaryless. I said yes to everything all the time. Just ask, I'm in. I will help you carry a couch down the stairs, whatever you need. And I'm not great at carrying couches down the stairs. But if you don't take that time for discovery, you're going to end up with the same habits, with the same challenges wherever you go. So the opportunity before you go and look for a new job is to figure out, what don't you want anymore? What do you want? What are your skills? What are your abilities? What are your talents that nobody else has? And what's going to make you happy and willing to change some of the bad habits you've set up in your own work life so that you can be a good boundary setter? You can be good with managing the time you spend at work and at home, right? There's no such thing really as work-life balance, because it never really feels balanced, but there is integration. So if you want to work for a company where you can work from home a couple of days a week or all the time, you want to decide that up front and not be thinking about that while you're interviewing. So one of the things that I do with my clients is have them build a list of what they want. And that can be really hard to do without help. So if you're going to do that, I recommend that you get support from a coach, a friend, and I always warn you, a supportive, productive friend, not a commiserating friend, but that you build a list of what you actually want, because that will help you as you're doing your search discern, is this a job I actually want, or is this an escape from where I am? The escape from where you are is never, ever going to feel exciting, because it's just going to feel like, whew, I got out of there. Thank goodness I got out of there. And that's not how we want to run our lives. If we're leaving, if we're making a change anyway, if we're deciding to make some sort of big change, then we want that change to actually feel really good, not to feel like, yeah, I got out at least, right? It's fine. Fine's a trap. So that's my advice for you tonight on the topic of the search before the search, or getting ready for an executive job search. If you've got questions about that, if you want to talk to me about how I might be able to help you do that, just shoot me a DM. I'm happy to chat on any of the social platforms. And that's it for me. Hope you have a great night. And if you haven't signed up for the next Beyond Find, that's the mastermind for women in leadership. The link is in the description on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And otherwise, I will see you same time, same place next week. Have a great night, everybody.